Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Brew and Activate. Hopefully you got your coffee or tea all nice and piping hot and ready to go and ready to talk about some cool POTA. Well, you know, hey, maybe this is the first time you've joined in. Got a lot of folks here in this morning in the chat. Good to see all those recognizable names and faces. But this is your first time here. Well, you know, this is where we explore everything Parks on the Air. We talk POTA. We speak the same language. You know, as you may or may not know, I'm Eric. Call sign N1JUR. So let me let you know, maybe you're an activator. Maybe you're a chaser, you know, or maybe you just got into the hobby and you're like, what's this thing called POTA? Well, you know, I'm going to say you come to the right place. You know, this is where each week we talk about POTA. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. You know, we share all great stories. We get into the technical details and everything. And, you know, it's all about sharing some great tips and tricks. You know, maybe we're going to have a little kumbaya. We'll circle around. We'll talk about some of our challenges. Definitely talk about a lot of our fun adventures and quirky moments. But heck, that's why I do POTA. And I'm sure a lot of folks there in the chat this morning do the same thing too as well. So grab your tea, grab your favorite brew, and let's get into it as always. That's some good coffee. All right, so let's always kick things off for the first episode or this episode, I should say. I'd just like to say hello to folks in the chat. A lot of folks there. Good to see everybody. Roger, thank you again for becoming a member. Appreciate that. And always thank you guys for the support. And as always, you know, we are, I have done we'll say a bad job at not giving all of my, you know, continuous supporters there the love, because you guys keep this channel going, you keep me fueled and get super excited. So, you know, those that are channel members both on the YouTube side and our Patreon side, you know, thank you again. We appreciate all the support you guys are doing for us. Keeps us going and allows us to do some really cool things just like this. So Roger, appreciate the support. Good to see everybody there. I just saw Shannon as always. John, good to see you there in the chat. And what else we got? Yeah, so the usual crew. Yeah, sorry, crew. That's my you know, Boston accent getting in the way there. But yep, Shannon, good morning, hammies, as always. Definitely good to see you guys there and support, and hopefully you guys will probably be going out and do POTA today, maybe. Hopefully the weather's good in your favor this time. And Sean, there we go. All right, cool. Well, with that, I always like to start out, at least get things going here with my favorite POTA tips. You will always, you know, hopefully glean something here. And let me say that, you know, with that, I love to have you guys contribute community-wise, because, you know, I've got tons and tons of stuff that I always run into that I want to share with folks. What I, you know, want to throw out to you guys, heck, if you haven't headed over to the Discord and you haven't been a part of that, you know, make sure that, you know, if you do, come join the Discord group over there. And heck, if you leave a POTA tip there. I will make sure I mention it on the next one. And because you took the time to do that, I first and foremost appreciate it. But second of all, heck, I'll send you a quick N1JUR sticker pack. We got a bunch of great stickers from myself, the Grouch, and all the guys on the Live Free and Ham crew, and all of the N1JUR swag that I got there too as well. And, heck, maybe a few hammies might sneak in that package too as well. So definitely, please, if you got some great ideas or something that you run into that has been super helpful in your POTA activations, or maybe hunting too as well. We don't want to leave the hunters out of that. Feel free to throw that tip in. So my tip today is kind of more, we'll say, pre-planned focus. I was kind of thinking how I was going to frame this today, but the best way to discuss it, and I use that word frame in a kind of a segue there. If you see in the back of me, hovering over my head, is my geochron. And, if you yourself have one, or maybe you've got a ham clock, you probably realize that both of those tools have some awesome features in them. One of the things that I try to do every day, and I am so small when it comes to this full understanding of how to read the SFI index and read all of the details that you see over there on the geochron there. I try every day to take a little piece and learn a little bit about, like, say, the K index or the A index or the SFI number, and then try to get my brain wrapped around that a little bit. And not so much for the purposes of just to understand it, but how it applies when I go out and do a POTA. I know a lot of hams that have a rough idea of what those numbers can and can't do when they're out in the field, as well as, I've had experience thinking I know what I'm going to have when I get out in the field, and then lo and behold, it's the total opposite in terms of, propagation. So I'm trying to just get better as a ham, get better as a, an activator and both, an amateur radio operator. And so, yeah, I advise, if you haven't had a chance, or maybe you want to dive in the foray, a good, start is definitely getting yourself a ham clock, or setting up a small little Raspberry Pi. The geochron was we'll say a frills purchase, because it is quite expensive, but it definitely does all of the bells and whistles. And I wasn't in the place at that time that I wanted to dive into the Linux stuff, because I do it for the jobby job, and it's one of those things that you can get into a big mess. So it is, although off to my side, I have a Pi that I'm working on building that, because I wanted to do some other stuff. Grouch has done an awesome, or hopefully will do an awesome video, and maybe this is the initiative for him to get out there. He's built a whole ham clock around his whole skydiving thing, and tying it into a little bit of the ham radio stuff. So, I'm learning from him and some of his mistakes, and hopefully he'll have a video out there too on that. But all that being said, these tools are just not a lifesaver, but a good learning tool for being able to kind of get a rough idea about when I go out and do a POTA activation. It kind of dovetails into maybe even some of your antennas too, as we all kind of just take for granted antennas, like, I'm a vertical guy, or I'm a wire person, or whatever be the case. But do we know why, what one antenna is better than the other, depending on the conditions? Because that kind of plays into our toolkit. So, all that being said, that was a quick POTA tip for this week. So hopefully that was a little bit helpful. I mean, it wasn't something you could really kind of cut your teeth into, but it's one of those big bites. They say how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So get on that. Let's say dive more here into the chat. All right, cool. Well, it's always good, and maybe I should start a little segment here, because I always find that at least Shannon and Sean are super active in POTA, at least during the weekends. And it looks like, Shannon, you headed out 5 park rows. Holy crap. Nice job. I would love to have you on just to talk about some of your experiences. Maybe you and Sean will come on sometime in the future. Let's connect that up there a little bit. I think I've done a park rove with Todd. It was a great experience. It was almost, if you haven't trained, as they say, for a marathon, sometimes it feels, very, very draining at the end, but it's very super rewarding. So I'd love to, hear your, opinions on it and how it worked out for you. So it's always good there. And then let's see here. I'm just gonna shuffle around here. All right, shut that off there. All right, so today, hopefully you're super ready because we're going to dive into some logging stuff. I've done some videos on my channel in the past about logging, and we've done some reviews on some specific loggers. So with that, today I'm going to try to give you, if you come here to get a crash course, maybe you're trying to dabble in logging, and you're trying to get your head around which one I should go to. Coffee pot on the roves are definitely important. Although I get a little squirrely if I drink too much coffee there, Shannon. So, so it's always good to know. And if those of you are wondering, my daughter is used to work for like one of those pottery places. This one is a tribute to Star Wars there. This one is I want a fruit gummy, and she's always throwing in cups. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, I had the Wallace and Gromit one that she threw in there. Very difficult to drink, but love Wallace and Gromit. And then I have more on the horizon. So if you got a couple of funny cups that you want to direct me to, I'd love to be able to grab them. It always kind of just fits the fill here, and it's always good. So. All right, without further me, babbling on here, let's kind of get into some stuff here. So first and foremost, I love to find out like how you guys do stuff here. So we're going to throw a little poll in here real quick. So those that have never done this or your first time here, we like to do a little polls, kind of get an idea of where you're at. So today's poll is going to be on what logger do you use? And so the way this works is I will throw either in the chat here real quick the link, and you can go click that link there, or you can easily in the chat, because we're all context aware, go ahead, throw in hashtag and then what type of antenna you are, just to notice it's case sensitive. So go ahead and throw that in there, and we'll kind of come back to that in a little bit. Let me go throw the link here real quick in. So if you want to do, come on, browser, open. Edit. Nope. Oh my gosh. All right. I have this here. This is the poll. There we go. I should just follow my notes. I like have this sitting here. So let me copy this out of here and get it to you. All right. So let's throw that there in the chat. So if you want to use that link there as well, that'll get you to the poll there, and you can fill in, and we'll go back and check out the results in a bit there. So with today, we are, like I said, talking about loggers. So maybe you're a POLO, user, or HAMRS, or you're a simple pen and paper person. I respect everybody and everybody's choice in loggers, because everybody comes from a different aspect and tackling the hobby itself. So we're gonna dive into some of that stuff. I will touch a little bit on pen and paper, because I think there's some things to kind of, glean from that a little bit, especially if you're really good with your handwriting. I am not, so I am not the one that you want to actually, read my logs to and translating from. So it's, better for me to use the keyboard, and because of my nature, because of my profession, I can type very fast, and it's much easier for me to be able to manage it that way. And just solely out of pure laziness, it's just easier to export a file that's already complete for me. So, all right. So let's see here. We got 7 in the chat. So we'll keep going here a little bit. All right. So with the logging today. So I got a couple that we're going to talk today. So we're going to start with some of the simpler, more, we'll say, web-based focus ones for activations, and we're going to kind of whiteboard this a little bit. So let's, before we head over to the whiteboard here real quick, just so I can frame everything out for you, let's take a look at the results here real quick. So it looks like overall, we've got some, let me widen this here a little bit so we can see the numbers a little bit better. Majority is our POLO users. Okay, that's interesting. With the next one up, N3FJP. Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to definitely touch on N3FJP today, and not. we'll glance on it a little bit because I find with N3FJP, unless you're using it across all platforms and have it tailored that way, it's a little bit more challenging to kind of gather the details. Not super difficult, but N3FJP is an awesome logger for sure, both for home use and out in the field there too. All right, cool. All right, well, it's good to see. I that's kind of my suspicion. I thought POLO would be taking front and center for a lot of folks because it's a very popular logger and has had a lot of investment and improvements on it, and we all have kind of benefited. And here's a little, hopefully, if you are or maybe haven't decided to make the leap into POLO, this might put you over. I've got some advanced stuff. If you're not an advanced user, I would say that, maybe this might put you over the edge in getting into using it. The one thing with POLO that, kind of lacks, but I'm not saying that it's not on the horizon because I think we've heard that it's making inroads to, is that it's not on a Windows platform. However, that shouldn't stop you. Because it's on most Android devices and iOS devices, so it's all good there. So, all right, let's head over to my little whiteboard here. So, I'll grab a few of my notes. So, obviously, like I said, we're talking loggers, and with that, we're going to kind of break it down into three categories, just for simplicity today, and to kind of shape things out here. So, first thing, obviously, is that we're going to talk devices and platforms. So, we're going to break it in three kind of key areas. First one is when you take out to the field, maybe you take out yourself, maybe you're a laptop or a tablet person. I know all of those platforms, whether you're, say, Android or iOS, or even further than that, you're into the Fire tablets. All of those platforms have their pros and cons when it comes to loggers, because not all loggers play on that. Not all loggers, operate well. I know there's definitely in the community in general, folks are, doing more development and staying on top of, the latest and greatest when it comes to that type of stuff. So, maybe you're a smartphone user. Like I very much, have this as a backup. This tends to obviously be with me, and I'm sure it's the same way with all you guys. And with that, it's one of those things that, if my tablet's battery died because I got to charge it the night before, or I just have some issues with the app, I have a fallback. And so, smartphone is definitely a benefit there. And then, obviously the big thing that always tends to be a debate is your, OS. Okay. We all have our favorites. We all love different platforms for different reasons. I'm kind of platform agnostic. I've played in both spaces, being in the IT space, so I know them both well and very much use both of them in different capacities. So, the nice part is that there is becoming more of a feature parity along the way. So as things get better and things start to improve and we start to kind of get more unified in the world with our operating systems, you might, that might become less of, an issue for you. So whether you, do Linux because you do it from a small power sipping kind of platform like the Pi platform, or maybe you're just a straight Windows user because that's the way you've done Windows and that's, what you use at home and in your office. All of those are great platforms. The only thing I would say, when it came to Windows, then this is one caveat that I'll put out there. I know a lot of hams try to be cost-centric and stray away from platforms, like of the latest flavor, especially in the Windows world, because Windows world, they're all forcing everybody, just like Mac and others, to be kind of lockstep with the new stuff. My advice is, stay away from at least 2 platforms or 3 platform, generations older. So like we're maybe Windows 95 or Windows, 7. My advice is at least be on Windows 10 with the hopes to maybe get you to Windows 11, and not so much because helping you move to a newer platform, but you're going to find that a lot of these pieces of software, especially in the ham world, aren't going to always. The ham community, I think, the software developer community is going to get to a place where they're going to be like, we can't support these older platforms any longer. So if you're the person that likes those features, likes improvements, and likes enhancements in applications, my advice is get used to the lockstep, dance of staying on a current platform. That way, you'll get the benefits. You'll be a little bit more secure. And you don't always have to play the game. And one thing that always makes me cringe, because I am in security, is, people that are like, oh, well, I never put the laptop on the internet. It's like, that's okay. It's like I lock my front door, but all my windows are open in the house. Someone still can kind of break in. It's not an end all be all feature, and something to keep you safe. So if you're going to start to use this out in the field and you're going to start to send files between friends, especially when you're out there activating, or you want to send copies of log, you're going to take thumb drives with you, and you're going to start doing some of that stuff. So know that, nothing is ever secure. The best you can be is, being on the most recent stuff, and just pay attention to where you're going, and it'll help you in the long run. So I'll take my security hat off now, throw it over in the corner. Let's get into some of the ham radio stuff. So the next areas we're going to talk, obviously everybody loves this. This is all about the features. We want to make sure, all of our ham apps have great features. We want things to be able to, that are going to give us all of the capabilities to be able to export, or be able to log, or be able to do what we need to do when we're out in the field. I mean, those are the features that every logger's going to probably have in general. So that's like being able to do RST, being able to do QRZ lookups, being able to export to many formats. All of that is, a great, kind of, we'll say, foundational stuff for a logger. I've gone through a lot of loggers, and the ones I'm going to feature this morning, all of them have the same capability. So you're not going to have to choose one or the other over, where maybe 3 years ago, HAMRS used to be the thing, and it used to be able to export, but other logging apps didn't do it as, easily. So there's that. And then, we're going to talk our non-negotiables. I feel like one of the things that every logger has to have, especially when you're a POTA activator, is that there is, quick, easy access, quick keys, being able to do lookups, the map feature, all of those things. I think those are non-negotiables for a lot of us, because one, we've already become accustomed to having them. And we, when we evaluate loggers, we tend to look for those features immediately. And so I'm basically lumping them into what I call the non-negotiables. So those are the features in these apps that we'll cover today that we'll dive into, and basically, scrutinize. So the next one, enhanced functionality. We're going to talk some of that. There's one app, and obviously you guys all had mentioned there in the chat that you're all POLO users. Majority of you guys are POLO users. So maybe there's some features in there that you guys aren't aware of, and hopefully I can, bring those to the foreground to make your activations a little easier and much quicker when you're out there in the field, because we all tend to hunt and peck with our fingers, but more so, we also, point on our screens to be able to set bands and set frequencies and set modes and stuff like that. You might be surprised that in an app like POLO, there are a lot of quick keys that you just have to, kind of commit to your gray matter there, and those will help you, become much faster when you're setting up for your activation. And then, the last piece that I like to touch upon, and I'm going to kind of get on my high horse here, guys, because I'm finding in the hobby that we are getting to a place that price. We're all kind of price conscious. We all struggle. Being a ham, you kind of, adopt, or we'll say, look at the idea that, hey, I can engineer this myself, or I can build this cheaper, or I can find, I can write this myself, or whatever. Price obviously plays into a lot of some, the logging apps that we have. And we got to realize that, the free versus cost kind of discussion is is definitely one that is starting to impact a lot of businesses. We obviously heard MFJ, they've left the market. Stepper is, getting out of the ham market. And we're starting to see more and more businesses that are out there, deciding that, it's too difficult or too hard for them to be able to play the price war game, are seeking elsewhere. And so, from my standpoint, I think that hurts the hobby because, in essence, we had someone create a product or create a solution for us to solve our problem. They obviously have to make a living. They have to consider, all of the factors to manufacturing that type of stuff. And everybody's getting squeezed in everybody different ways. So all that being said, when you're evaluating these apps, when you're talking, you're deciding what you want to do, consider that, someone took the time, someone took all of their hours away from their families and other resources, maybe their job or whatever, to be able to create this app for you because they had a passion. They heard that there were folks out there that, know that they need this, they want this, they're asking for it. And so they stepped up to the plate and they put it out there. It became, it became a kind of a love of their, personal time to be able to do this. But when it came to asking for stuff, I saw this sort of with the HAMRS, when the HAMRS kind of came out, like a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I have to pay for the HAMRS app. And I'm like, yeah, someone took time to be able to build this app for you. I mean, it was small peanuts when it first came out, and it's not terribly that bad even today because I know HAMRS has a now new feature. It's not their app now that you have to pay in the App Store, but it's the, being able to do cloud storage. People are like, oh my gosh, cloud storage is so expensive. Why can't I do this on my own? It's like, you can, but in essence, they're providing the features and flexibility and convenience for you to be able to manage your logs across multiple devices. And it was a thing that was put out in the community. Everybody wants it. Everybody needs it. And when's it going to come? Blah blah blah. And then what happens is it comes out, and the developer has to obviously resources. So all that being said, is that we as ham radio operators, to keep those folks in business, to keep them, building and innovating, hey, just throw a few bucks at them, just like a lot of the YouTubers that are out there, they're doing all this content to keep you guys informed and fueled and out there activating and encouraging you to get out there. It's important, support everybody you can as much as you can. And again, back to my thing is I thank all you guys for supporting me. I mean, in essence, I'm up here, I'm a talking head sometimes. And so I appreciate everybody who contributes, who's members of the channel and supports me. But if you use stuff like this, if you use POLO or you use HAMRS or whatever, and you use it a lot, contribute, even if it's a one-time thing, help those folks continue to, support their development, because it's going to help the future hams of, way past us that are going to be out there using these apps and, getting to experience all the cool things that we did or we do now today, in the Parks on the Air program. So let me stop here and refuel the, see what we got going on in the chat here real quick. Wow, you guys have been very, very talking. That's awesome. Let's see. Yep, definitely. Yes, Sean, I can agree with that one. Yes, crayon is a step up for me. My handwriting just with a pen is just as horrible. I've been always confused with doctor's handwriting in most cases, and I've told everybody I am not a doctor. So, let's see. Here we go. Yep, tablets. These things are great. I would love to get into. Kind of a little bit of a tablet discussion as to what you use out in the field, how you might maybe use your cell phone with an external smartphone with an external, Bluetooth keyboard. That type of stuff is all good. How's it going? MI7 DJT. Good to see you there this morning. And then let's see here. Let's see if I get everybody else up to this point. Cool. Yeah, this is always an interesting discussion. Soda, I would probably not bring anything except my phone. You watch K6ARK and N7 or N6ARA, those guys, those are big soda goat guys. They don't take anything but their cell phone, and they log from there. And they have they have a little strap that kind of goes around their thigh, and their phone just sits right on that, and they log from there. And that seems to work well for them because in essence, their contact lists aren't like us as POTA operators, we're not, running out to make contacts, with, over a 4 or 5 hour span. They're up on a mountain peak for like probably 30, 35 minutes, making, 20 or maybe 20 max contacts before they have to, unpack and get down. But yeah, they definitely keep it light and, slimmed. All right. Okay, cool. So let's kind of get into the cool stuff here. So let me kill this here and get back to my notes. So with all of what's going on is we're going to go over to my first screen share here. And so first app I'm going to kind of cover today, excuse me, is one you may have seen. If the screen looks familiar, throw a 1 there in the chat. You might know what this app is. This is a web-based app. And so a couple of them that I'm going to focus on first are the web-based apps. And we're going to touch a little bit lightly on these because they are somewhat feature-rich. Some of them that I'm going to get into, I'm going to talk a little about World Radio League too as well. I bet you didn't think maybe that was going to be one, but they are definitely a player in the space when it comes to POTA activations and having offline capabilities. So this first app for me is called Smart Logger. If you've ever or never downloaded this, you can go to smartlogger.com, I think it is, or just Google Smart Logger for POTA, and this will come up. Smart Logger is a web-based app. And I think they have a offline version. I didn't dive too deep into it. And I think KB9VBR had done a review on this a long time ago. So if you want to find out more details and really get into the nuts and bolts, he did a great review on it. I'm just going to touch base on some of the features in it and, kind of more on the, side of POLO and not side of POTA, I should say, and why, you may or may not want to use this. One of the things with Smart Logger, like I said, it's very web-based and it's very simplified. It's not really meant to be super complex, and the design and the layout, as you can see, is pretty straightforward. Like most loggers that we see out these days, they have, call sign entry field. They've got, all of your call log below. And they've got all of the base features that we, kind of mentioned, or, base features that we all expect in the logger. So let me kind of touch upon that, and you can kind of keep this in the back of or file in the back of your computer, as they say. Some of the base features that I always expect out of every logger is obviously call lookup. We are so reliant on call lookup. It makes things, the experience that much better. Tying into ham, DB and QRZ and all of those things. Call lookup is always a must in every logger. If it doesn't have it, I just kind of move on. But I haven't yet found a logger that doesn't have that integration. One of the simple things is, being able to. This one I thought was interesting because this is a feature that was above and beyond, but I'll touch base on it. You're probably thinking, why would you want to record? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Kind of starting from the beginning, it really is just a base simple logger. So like you have all of, like, if you're used to HAMRS and that type of stuff, you'll see that all your logs here, and you can do your simple export. You can share your log. You can basically merge other logbooks. So all of the, we'll say, administrative features are there in the front. And it gives you a basic date setup. If you want to create a new log, it's a simple title, and then they have all the templates. And this is what you're going to find. So this is a base feature that you should expect out of every log. Does it log parks on the air? Does it do SOTA? Does it do a general log? Does it do field day? All of them do probably a majority of that. Some of them go a little above and beyond. Some of them like to do templates for very specific things like flora and fauna and all of that. But, you can easily set up a template. And then once you set up a template, you can go into it. But one of the features here that I thought was pretty cool is that, and a lot of loggers are following the suit. You can set your units of measure. Is it, kilometers, or is it miles? What's your English language? How do you want to deal with your power levels? How do you want to deal with your RST settings? This one is a feature that's coming more and more prominent, dark mode. I'm a big dark mode user, as you can tell. I love it. I can't stand a white screen. It just, too harsh on the eyes for me. But you can set it up in auto mode, and you can change the UI size. So they're starting to, again, these developers are starting to hear your cries, get your feedback, hear your input, and they're implementing a lot of these things. Here's another thing that, we're going to touch more on Polo, hotkeys, learning quick keys, quick key shortcuts, Alt R, Alt S, being able to add all these notes in there. All these apps are starting to get those integrated into their designs to make you more an effective logger. So let's dive into the logging app here. Again, all the log settings you can tweak here by band and mode. Has a lot more in terms of being able to add in your rig type, antenna details. All of that stuff is pretty standard across all loggers, at least for a majority of them, especially the ones that are kind of like, we'll say, Swiss Army life. Like they want to, reach the biggest audience they can. So they're trying to do a whole lot. Whereas, say, you look at Polo is very tailored to the activator and parks on the air. And they aren't going to be heavily used per se to do a field day activation, whereas like HAMRS is kind of, broadening their templates to go that route. All of them have the map features depending on whether you like certain color schemes. This one's kind of very generic. Some of them are very detailed maps. It all depends on where it is in your eyes. All of them do the activity details. This one has an interesting screenshots feature, which I think, is not bad if you're trying to share some of that stuff with folks. All of them, again, this is the non-negotiable stuff. This is having all of the access to the POTA spots page and being then to able to log them in the features, and then receive spots based off of where you might see. This is interesting. Nothing's going to come back through, but knowing this one thing, this is a web-based logger. So if you're out in a park and you don't have cell service, you don't have internet, well, this logger is going to be kind of limited in its functionality. You're not going to be able to use all of the capabilities. It's not going to be as feature rich for you when you're out in the field and separated from the internet itself. But if you don't mind that and you just want something that's simple and easy that you can log via keyboard and then go back and update, definitely worth a look at and play around with, especially from a simple and light perspective. Okay, so that is Smart Logger. Anybody got any questions about Smart Logger there in the chat? I just want to make sure I cover any of that and didn't miss anything here. Tortoise, good morning, sir. Good to see you there. And no, I don't see anything. Yep, Shannon, mapping apps, all of these loggers you're going to find as I go through them that definitely all have those maps. Some of them are going to be much better than others. Some of them are going to be very generic, as we kind of see with this app. Tortoise, get on the ball here, man. This is Brew and Activate. It's in the title. Grab your coffee. Let's go. Come on. I know you had a tough Friday night there with a Grouch, a 4-hour live stream. That was an awesome live stream, but come on. Let's get with the program here this morning. Yeah, I can't put that up there, my friend. Anyway, all right. So, let's go into our next app. So if nobody's got any questions around Smart Logger or, here's a question real quick for me to you guys. Have any of you guys seen or used Smart Logger at all in the field? Nope. Resounding no. Okay. All right. Not a problem there. I didn't really, get to a point, in my, process of maybe integrating in this because it didn't fit the bill for me. But it's out there. It's available. I want to make you guys aware of it. So let's kill that there real quick. All right. So our next one today is another web-based app here. So let me go pull this up here. Screen share, and then let me grab this one. Is where did it go? Oh, there we go. This one's World Radio League. All right. So, how many folks have tried World Radio League at all? Anybody get in, log in, or anybody use it for just as a generic logger or any of that sort? Okay. All right. Well, hey, no problem here. Well, this is your first time into World Radio League. I would say it's a very interesting platform. It's it's trying to solve a lot of things for a lot of different people of a lot of different areas in the hobby. I sort of started into it, and I got very not bored. Bored's the wrong way. I just was like, okay, this is. Let me share a little story. So, how many of you guys know of Ham Radio Deluxe? Anybody ever see it or play with it as their home logger? If you have, you'll know that that app is such a Swiss Army knife, so feature rich, has every functionality, every capability in it that it gets overwhelming fast. And so if you're just looking for that simple logger, then you'll notice that once you wean yourself away from HRD and say go to N3FJP, you'll be like, wow, it's a different time of a chapter in your life, and you feel that you're losing, you've lost a lot of extra weight that was on your shoulders, because HRD is an awesome tool, definitely well designed and definitely being developed and improved upon, but it gives you access to literally everything in the hobby. I don't think there's one thing in there that it doesn't do. I'm almost positive it actually allows you to do PSK 31. So all of those features are definitely in there. I know you can do slow scan TV with that app. Did you know you can do slow scan TV with HRD? It is very feature rich, but its ecosystem is very, very deep and wide. So I kind of look at that as World Radio League. World Radio League, they want to kind of get into the gamification kind of the hobby. They want to get their hands into a lot of different areas, and that's awesome. It definitely is starting to get that way. I think, if you've ever been part of Kyle Alpha 0 Z's conversation about, making contesting more e-game like, they're sort of getting to that place. They're allowing and broadening people's viewport into how you could kind of make it into a game, but at the same time logging capabilities are all very much built in as the foundation. And so we're going to just focus on the POTA stuff real quick. So if I wanted to do a simple POTA activation here, and I'm going to just show you my station log. It's feature rich. There's obviously all of the buttons that you're used to in terms of auto spotting, all the park listings. The map is very much similar to kind of how we see if you're a Polo user. These layouts and these frames are kind of that same structure. It's like you can see a map, you can see your log, you can see your QSO rate, you can see all the grid squares you might have worked. If you want to get into the spotting, here's the whole entire spotting page that you can pull in, and then you can basically just easily click one contact here and add that to actually, will this allow you to pull it in? Yep, you can pull all the data right into the log and log that person, and then they have their stats page. And this is the cool thing about this I like a lot, is that I'm a big stats guy sometimes, so I like to see numbers. I like to see how I'm performing. These give you some really good visuals when you're out there in the field. Now you might be saying, okay, well, this is a web-based app like Smart Logger was, but they have an offline version. So, they've obviously recognized the same thing that a lot of us activators run into. Well, you don't have cell service. What do you do? Well, this is one of those things that they have an offline app, and they are platform agnostic. So like if you want to be on Linux, you want to be on Windows, you want to be on a tablet, all of them will work. All of their apps are available offline. So you get all of the same, we'll say, look and feel of their environment, all across every platform. So you don't lose any functionality, you don't lose any capability. There's a lot of, really good power in this. But here's the caveat. There's a limitation. If you're, obviously money conscious and you only want to really have one or two loggers, paying for a monthly service or annual service sometimes might rub you the wrong way. Well, this might not be the way to go, but that's how they continue to develop. That's how they continue to, keep this process running, and support, your money financially supports their community and building it up. And they are pretty, they're growing. I mean, I definitely have seen this thing evolve. And there's a lot of great features like, hey, you want to get into some contesting in the same logger that you also use for POTA? Well, hey, you can join into, field day, winter field day, all the QSO parties, all of those things. And I think, once you're in these contests, you see how you kind of stack up against statistics, because obviously everybody's logging to, this specific contest. You can see all the details in here. So it's a pretty cool idea. Again, along that gamification line, they're very much saying, well, POTA is just one more component. And, how can we integrate this in the view? And now I haven't paid myself. I'm still haven't made the leap to using it. They have more and more features that allow you to tie into cat control, all of that stuff. So if you're looking for a logger that kind of does a lot of that and interfaces with your radio, this might be the logger for you. And the fees aren't, they aren't going to break the bank. Let me see if I become a member. Yeah. So you're seeing like $3 a month, even if you're the VIP, $100 a month for a piece of software that constantly gets refreshed all the time. And those aren't killers. They shouldn't, per se break the bank if you're looking for that logger that's going to do a lot of the integration for the features and functionality you're looking for. But maybe if you're more like us, more like the, hey, I just get out, I want to activate, and I want to, be independent of the internet or independent of, a web-based browser, then let's get into some of our other apps here. So let's dive into, let me grab this screen share here, and we're going to get into our next app here real quick. Is the one that everybody kind of is familiar with. It's the we'll say the standard of the internet when things came about for logging and Parks on the Air, and Parks on the Air was super popular. This is HAMRS, and so this version is the Windows desktop version here. Everybody, this should be a very familiar interface to everybody. If I back up, you remember all your logs in HAMRS are all there, and they pretty much every interface across Androids, iOS, tablet. I think they even have a Fire Kindle version. And all of the features that you would normally expect and you're used to when you were doing logging. I started in HAMRS, yeah, they have kind of come back on the scene. So maybe you started in HAMRS a while back, and then you found that the development was slowing. The developer finally came back around and started to integrate some of the features and started to redevelop the platform. So what you see here is just a sample log that I created. So Shannon, don't get too excited. I didn't work you on the 2200 meter band, but all good there. This is a very good logger. So if you want to start somewhere, HAMRS is probably the place to go. I have used HAMRS, like I said, in several of my activations, in many kilos, and it has all the features that we all expect as operators and activators. So you've got all of your logs there, and you can upload to QRZ. This is a new feature. Actually, I didn't even notice this one. Now you can upload the actual contacts to QRZ after the fact. That must be one of those paid features or starting to get there. You got the QSO map, and again, if you're looking for a well-built map and all of the capabilities, you can change around the theme and the layout a little bit, turn things on and off, which are really cool to see, because this is a feature that I think more and more hams are starting to want, being able to see gray line activity and where you are. If you're, activating, say, in a park's, flip over UTC time, seeing all the spots page, they very much, this looks familiar. If you've ever been to the spotting page for POTA, this feels like that spotting page. So you get to see all the same features, being able to filter by band, all those capabilities that we're all used to. Is all there and available, and you can flip it in the traditional. This is one thing I always loved about HAMRS when it came out, is like I didn't like to see it in the card format. I can flip it over to a tablet, table format, and lo and behold, it just made it faster to flip through, park to parks and that type of stuff. All the features that are very much again, a requirement for doing parks on the air are all there at the fingertip. You can export ADIF. You can import your ADIF files. You can do QSO lookups. The Cabrillo thing, it must be a new one. I haven't used HAMRS in a while, so you have to forgive me. I didn't realize that that was an option. So that means, actually, if we look at the logbooks, they've probably added a new template feature. They did. Okay, so they've got POTA, SOTA, Winter Field Day, and they're now doing custom logs, which would fall into that Cabrillo format. So maybe if you're, say, doing a VHF, UHF rove, that's where a Cabrillo file might, fall into play, or you're doing a contest log, now HAMRS would fit that bill. And again, HAMRS is free. If you don't want to use their cloud sync capabilities with your logs, then you're free to use it. You don't have to download. You don't have to sign in for anything. I think rig features and other capabilities probably are going to be a paid option. But if you're saying, hey, I want to standardize, I want HAMRS to be my logging app across all, platforms and all devices I use, well, the cloud feature might be a good feature for you, because then at that point you can synchronize all your contacts across all of your devices and keep everything centralized, and might give you a good, a good feature-rich logger that it does exactly what you expect out of it, and no frills, and get you in and out and get you activated, and does all the regular generic logging that you do from your home shack. All right, so let me just kind of touch base here. Good to see you there, Mike. Good morning. Thanks for joining there as always. Appreciate you. And Shannon, yes, I always try to understand the users kind of, where they're coming from a technology standpoint, like you're suggesting there, that sometimes simpler is always better, especially when they're trying to get in there. And even then, I have gone to the level of like, hey, paper and pen is a very acceptable method to getting, things going. Good morning there, Jeff. Good to see you there in the chat. Always kind of assess a little bit how, the person's level of understanding is, especially with computers and that type of stuff, because people can get overwhelmed fast with software, and it does add a layer of complexity. And so let's try to kind of keep people's, interest at a high. And so, let them learn as they can on their own and their own pace, and it will go a long way for, their fun and enjoyment. All right, so that's HAMRS. Anything I missed in HAMRS? I think I pretty much covered that one pretty straightforward. Although I just, again, this is one of those things, I haven't been in the HAMRS community too much because I am a POLO user through and through. And you'll see why once we get into that in a second. But yeah, this all QSOs log actually is a pretty cool feature, being able to do that, seeing that as a full view. But again, it's probably based around that, like having a central cloud sync logging capability, and being able to see all of your contacts. That's pretty cool. I wonder if I had more. Oh, yeah, wow! It actually breaks it down. So if I have multiple contacts with a certain person, it would break that down further in their breakout. So interesting, cool. All right. Well, again, it's good to see. I'm excited to see HAMRS is starting to realize that, there's a renewed interest in the app, and people are starting to really, pour back into it. All right. Let's scan the chat there this morning. I don't want to leave anybody out. All right, cool. All right, well, let's keep plugging away here. So let me know if I'm going too fast. I assume all you guys are kind of, pretty well seasoned activators there, or have had some experience in this area. So, if I'm putting you to sleep, just let me know. All right, so let's kill that one here real quick. Next one, I am looking for my screens here. Okay, cool. All right, there's that. Let's dive over to what everybody's kind of been waiting for here. This last logger is no, I wouldn't say kind of. It is the logger that everybody has been talking about. This is the logger that everybody uses. I am a big fan of it, and I'm going to dive into some of those features. And this is kind of why I waited to the very last to kind of go into this. This is POLO. if you've never been in Polo, and I am running Polo on my iPad here, so to give you an idea of what my setup looks like when I'm out activating, I have an iPad, I think it's the second to latest generation iPad, and it's got a Bluetooth keyboard and a data cell plan in it. You may have heard me talk about why I did that and where it went and how I got to that place to decide that that was a plan for me. If you find that, you leverage QRZ a lot, and you like to do the lookups of users when you're using Polo, having a cell connection is kind of imperative, especially if you have no local Wi-Fi around you to use. You might find that, you want to be able to sound like who you're talking to on the other end of that contact there. And QRZ does do a great job of that. And lookups are very important, especially when using the app. So I decided that after the 55th time of me struggling with my cell phone, either getting a call and breaking the data connection or, just losing connectivity to my hotspot, that I was just going to eliminate that factor and the middleman and integrate that into the tablet. So that's why I have a data plan on there. If you definitely can afford it and something you're looking into, it'll make things much easier in the long run. But it's not required. In essence, it's a we'll say a want versus a need. All right, so this is my logger here. As you can tell, I've done a bunch of activations already. If you're interested and you haven't seen Polo and this is your first time with it, let's get into, I'll do a separate kind of, video if you want about all of the Polo, but there's plenty of them out there that you can do a quick glance for and, go into more detail. So we're just going to kind of dive into something. So I'll grab my park here and let me go away keyboard because my Bluetooth keyboard likes to sleep. Polo is very much a lot like all the other features that are out there. So you've got your info page. I love how they decided to integrate all of your state, as we all kind of play in the Polo space, you go up to your POTA page, you go up to your awards page, you're like, hey, what states have I turned green, kind of thing. And that is kind of the thing that everybody try to, when they're paper chasing or they're, in that space in the Parks on the Air website, is that you want to know what parks you might have activated or more so what parks you've hunted with the hunters in those areas. And this is a really cool feature that I love because it just really just gives you simple, bite-sized bits of data. It's like how many QSOs, how many park to parks, how many total contacts, how long did your activation go? I mean, I always love to share that stat with people. It's like, oh, I made 150 contacts in 45 minutes kind of thing. And it, kind of gives you a sense of pride, I would have to say, of, hey, I'm doing pretty good. That activation was better than, the activation 2 days ago when we had a solar, flare or G4, whatever be the case. And then it breaks it down by band. And then so you can go over the spotting page. I love, again, this is that feature, non-negotiable that I was talking about. Every Polo, every logger should have that capability. You should be able to pull in from the parks page all of the latest stats and be able to filter out any of the the spots. And the one thing that I haven't seen many other loggers per se do very well with the filtering is that they allow you to basically go in and really drill down so you only see the spots that you really want to pull in. And so this is kind of one of those things that can definitely help you when you're trying to activate in the system. So like if I go, sorry, I keep doing this. So go band, all bands, and let's take this any age off. And we'll go to show. A lot of times when I get to a park, I'll be like, okay, well, I did a little bit of, research on what the band conditions might be. Let's see what the spotting page kind of tells me the conditions are and how many activators might be out there. Great way to be able to kind of search and see by time frame, at a moment's glance, what's been going on. And then, the maps are all based off of your current, obviously contacts as you made. My map, this is probably one of my favorite maps so far. And they have a couple of different that you can toggle through. Oh, I see. One is, looks like, Yeah, very cool. I did not know that it actually did a global view. So if you're into the Google Earth kind of side of views there, and you want to see how contacts are, you can go to the Earth globe, or if you want to just do the what we call the flat version of the map, you have that capability there. And then, operations. So this is one of the things that is kind of confusing for folks, especially who use Polo versus other apps. A lot of the pains, a lot of the process in Polo, if you haven't already realized, is that it's all like built off one another. It's almost like a breadcrumb trail. So you have to kind of really, when you're setting up a new log, realize that you have to go through all these other steps and to set up your log appropriately, because it helps you in the long run. And then the last piece is always the export piece, which people may not know that it's always under operations. And being able to manage your logs and export them is a really awesome feature. However, it's one of those things that's like I get asked all the time. It's like, where the heck is the export feature in Polo? Well, yeah, Sebastian is aware of that. He's trying to come up with a better way to make things easier. There was talks of it even making it simpler, that after you're done with your activation and you've QRT in the app would then say, oh, okay, you're done with your log, and then allow you to export right from there to wherever you're going to export it to. And then maybe, knock on wood, someday in the future, we'll have direct upload into the POTA.app, but we'll see where that one goes in the long run for sure. All right, so let me dive into some of the features here. I mean, I don't know if I'll go into it either way. Just let me know if I'm getting, if it's old hat for your folks. One of the things I love that Sebastian kind of integrated very early on, which I don't think it was ever something that was ever asked for, but he just kind of did, which was really cool, was that if you're like a YouTuber, he's created a database or created a list that, if you're have your own YouTube URL and that type of stuff, he's added you in, and you get to see these little icons that pop up next to the name. So maybe if you're a Ham2K supporter at different levels, you get a little icon that represents your support to the application. And again, the nice part about that is that you really get to see that information as a activator. And I've had conversations with people and saying, oh, hey, dude, I appreciate you supporting Ham2K because I support Ham2K. It's really, really cool. Or, hey, I didn't know you were a YouTuber. Well, now I can go to, the YouTuber's webpage right there from a link, right there in the browser. And as long as I had internet, I could get up there. The other feature that I'm really, really getting excited about, that I love, is this. If you see down here in the bottom, I can't move my finger because you won't be able to see my finger, but if you look down here where it says 2 QSOs, this is a little stat that I'm finding is really cool. So if I'm working many people that I work over and over again that hunt me, I want to be able to let them know that, hey, I recognize them. I thank them for all of their time to find me on the bands, to get me in the log one more time, and or if it tells me if I hunted this person or the person's hunted me on a new band every time. And so it's a really cool kind of like talking point. So if you're if you're kind of tired of like always just play like, okay, 7-3, move on to the next QSO, which is okay to do, I find that sometimes it's also really cool to, obviously have a QSO or have a conversation and continue the conversation. This is a great way to keep that going instead of just ending the conversation fast. And it feels more warming, more welcoming to make that connection with somebody. We should never know, one day you might cross paths, and have an eyeball QSO, and that call sign might trigger a thought in your brain because you've just developed muscle memory to remember, oh yeah, I've worked this guy 4 or 5 times already. And yeah, he's sought me out all the time. And it's really cool. And Rabbit Ham, yeah, definitely. I always, if I run across a channel or, someone who I've worked that's hunted me, and I haven't seen the YouTube channel, I always go back later and check this log and go check out their site. So it's a really cool way to support other people in the community that are, that are doing ham radio, which is really cool. So one of the other things in here, let's see, does it have it to here? Yeah, you can tweak this. And this is what I love about Polo, that is really just, it's a power app. And this is one of the things that I'm going to stress a lot is like, if you have been doing activating for a while and you're looking for an app to tailor your experience the way you want it, Polo is really good at that. Polo allows you to turn things on and off. And, we won't get into the conversations as to whether or not, you're a RST collector in every contact, or you just give everybody 5 nines kind of thing. Or if you're like me, you give everybody a signal report on their end, over the air, but everybody in my log is a 5.9. All that being said is that, having the capabilities to tweak the log the way you want, to be able to just filter the stuff that you want to see, is definitely, from my vantage point, a plus, because I don't have a whole lot of time when I activate. And so you may have tried to hunt me a couple of times, and you may see me pop on the spotting page. But what is, I usually do like a 45-minute to an hour activation, depending on where I'm at, because I'm usually doing it right in between jobs, or, I get off a current job from a client, and then I'm like, oh, I got like half an hour and I don't want to deal with traffic. I'll go activate a park for, 45 minutes or so. So it's like one of those things that is definitely helpful, to be able to have this tailored very quickly, so I could fire it up and get going, and search for stuff, and get set up, and I'll have to really like spend a whole lot of time. It's been really cool. One of the features that Shannon, actually, she noted something here, shows the map reps. Where is that? Sorry, Sean. I thought it was Shannon. My mistake. Where is that? As in terms of like an icon for the map rep, like you see them in there when you log in the contact. I'll let Sean answer that in a second. So the other thing I love about Polo is that if you see up at the very top, and you can't see my mouse moving, I should apologize. So at the top of the line where it gives you the date and silly keyboard, number of QSOs, you'll see a little Christmas tree. That is not an air freshener Christmas tree. That is actually how many park to parks you've been working by the number next to you, which is really cool, because when I do my activations, and I've shared this on other videos, I usually go to the spotting page first, and I'll go through it twice, bottom to top, top to bottom, try to make as many park to parks as I can. And that number obviously just easily gets me my log up and running. Most of the time I can get almost close to 10 where I don't have to like really work. And then I just find a spot that works well for me, and then, start activating. And it gets me to over my 10 pretty quickly, even when, band conditions are really tough. But I love that little feature. It's really cool. And the fact that for every park you might work, say like a 2-fer or 3-fer, it shows, that in the small little summary view there. So, cool, Sean. I did not know that. So that was a really cool way to, see those folks. And I'll have to pay attention to that more in the future, because I haven't seen many of those in my logs. And I wonder if I actually just go to another log here. We'll go to the Cape Cod Seashore, see if I see it anywhere in here. No, nothing there. Yeah, so see where you see like the KB3 AOL, or sorry, the K9RVA. You'll see like the 2 Christmas trees there. That's a 2 for park to park and so forth and so on. So that is pretty cool. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. All right, so let's go back to the log here real quick. This log here that I was playing with. Good morning, Andrew. Good to see you there in the chat. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We're talking about loggers. So let's get into some of the advanced features. So I already see a few folks here talking about the slash feature, Rabbit Ham. Yeah, I saw that. So you're definitely a power user there. Let's get into some of those features. So maybe you're a Polo user and you're what I call the finger pointer. So everything's pretty, we'll say, add a pointer's touch for being able to self-spot, or being able to change the frequency, or being able to add in a park detail or whatnot. But did you know there's some really cool features that I use a lot? When I came across them, I was just like, my eyes totally wide and open, and I was like, oh, this is what I've been looking for. So we're going to touch a pace on those here a little bit. So buckle in, and here's a little link for you. If you go up to Polo's website Let me put that in the chat here real quick, and I'll just reveal this so you can always refer back to this and keep an eye on this, because as Sebastian and the development team start adding stuff, they always keep this updated. There is a great list, and it's awesome to have and start to kind of commit to memory. So here's a few things. So I'm going to start really simple. Everything that I'm going to talk about in terms of the advanced features in Polo all happen in their call screen. So if I get back my keyboard to wake up again, so you stop seeing it pop up. Everything you're going to type or for commands are always going to occur in their call screen. So let's talk a simple thing. So say I'm currently sitting on 14.234 in this log sideband. Say I want to change the mode to 15 meters sideband. I can just type the band number and then type SSB and hit return. Oh, come on. If I just type 15 meters, it'll change the band there, and I hit return. Now I'm in a different mode. I've never had to go up and tap the button that says 15 and then into frequency. Here's another thing. If I want to do, we'll change the mode here. Let me get out of this real quick. And this is kind of one of the things with Polo that, in the midst of while you're trying to do something, that window doesn't really go away. Even if you put in the modes a lot of times. So this is why I think the power features are always good, to be able to learn from the keyboard shortcuts. So if I just go back to say 20 meters here, say I want to change the frequency to 14,300. So if I just do 14,300 here in the window, it'll say, okay, do you want to change that frequency? Now I've changed the frequency. I haven't had success yet chaining, and I've put in a request for Sebastian to kind of think about doing this, but it would be really cool to be able to chain your mode or your frequency, the mode, and the frequency number all together, either by a pipe command or a dash or something that the system could pick up on. So I could just literally type everything that I wanted in one line and then get activating. It would be really cool, and I don't know if you're aware of this, and the next kind of simple command that I use is a word called spot me. And the way you have to use this is that you have to first set your frequency and your mode and obviously the band you're on all before you do that. But after you've done that in the app, you can just hit spot me, and what will happen is it'll send a spot automatically to the spotting page and get you logged in there. I don't want to do that with actually, it doesn't really matter. I can just do that, and it will spot me on the spotting page. So if I go to the spotting page for this log and change mode to all bands, we'll go to 20 meters. You'll see that it's spotted me automatically there. Where am I in the list? I'm going to refresh here real quick. Yeah, there we go. So there I'm listed there, right there in the middle. So let me just QRT, that way people aren't trying to work me. Not art. QRT. Thank you. Return. And actually you can, and see again, sometimes I fall back. If I want to, basically end myself, I could, again, from that command field, type QRT, and it will say, you want to assign the self spot with QRT? Done. So keyboard, if you're very much a good typer, and even if you're a finger typer, learning a lot of these commands and committing a lot of these commands to memory are well worth the time and energy, especially if you don't want to have to keep pressing buttons and whatnot. And so one of the things that I find that a lot of people may or may not know is a feature that Polo calls call stacking. And so say you wanna you're working a park to park, and you've got the park number or multiple park numbers outside of the ones that you saw maybe in the spotting page or in your spots list. You could easily do, say, W1STJ, and then you can put a space in and then enter or actually you could just do a slash. A slash is usually safer. That way, the system knows that, hey, it's waiting for another entry, and you can say park US 1234, and we'll hit enter. And then now it's basically put that in the system under, dang it, I gotta go back. This is if you want to chain Why didn't it take that one? It should have taken the park there. Why did it do? Oh, because probably it didn't pick it up. Oh, because it's not. This is the feature that I get confused with when I do this a lot. This feature, basically, if you do this, you have to have, obviously, a park that is in the list. So say, someone's working your park to park, but it's not in the list, but, you want to add it. This is what you would do for being able to get that call. So w1stj / US, I'm trying to think, 0001, enter. And that should have added in. Why it's not adding it in? What am I doing wrong? I know I've got this right. I've done this several times, and it should have just applied it. And did it add it to the park? No, it didn't. Why didn't it do that? Anyway, let me go back. Oh, maybe it's the slash is screwing up. US. No, see, I can't add that in there. Let me go out of there. My gosh, this is technical difficulties in real time here. I would have thought the slash is supposed to do that. The slash is supposed to add in the park. I wonder why it's not doing it for me. Huh. It should have created that as a park, not as in a location. But we'll figure that one out in a second. All right. So the other key here. So like if you want to do a quick entry here, I think like if I wanted to give, like I'm working WSTJ, hitting basically the tab or being able to hit a space bar will get you to the next field. That is always a plus for me because I know like in, doing hammers or whatever, I had to tab to the next field when they implemented the tab key, or I had to hit, the actual field to get in there. The one thing I love the most is, getting into dealing with, multiple QSOs. So say like I'm working a multi-park group of folks and multiple operators. I can put in N1 OG, and then I can add in, let me see here, Whiskey, White Man, One Horse. And I can add all three, and it will log all three immediately with whatever RST I've set with them. And if they were park, you can actually even add the park to park in that field, and then they would all get the park to parks too as well. So, a lot of great capabilities. What is... He got a trash can? Interesting. Oh, I'm going to have to go back and fix that. Apparently, and this is that custom list that... Sebastian maintains that he pushes out in all the apps, but you can go in and tweak that custom list too as well. So if you want to add, links or custom icons to certain people's contacts, you can do that in your own list, which is pretty cool. But Paul apparently has got the trash can there. So lucky. All right, cool. So let me go there. So the other thing I am still trying to get my head around, is being able to, do things like smart slashes and whatnot. Now, what I'm learning and what I suggest that everybody, if you're trying to get into some of these advanced keyboards, try it and try some features like, being able to try to chain stuff together. So like if I did WM1H slash US 0001 slash let's see if we can chain one more. 14300. Well, let me do though that. Yep. I don't understand why it's still adding in the call field. That should separate all that stuff out and make a park. But if anybody knows in the chat there real quick whether I'm typing it wrong, it seems weird. That's not making sense. It should activate. It should basically populate all those values in each of the fields. It did the frequency number. Why it's not doing the park number, I stumped a little bit as to why that should show up as a park for that person. So if I just do enter, it does it, but then why is it not doing it for that? All right, well, Polo's being finicky today, of course. Why not? So those are just some of the features from an advanced standpoint that I am starting to do more and more of in my day-to-day logging that I find have been super helpful, have been really, really great in general for me to, really just kind of get, used to, because it helps in the long run that I'm constantly being able to, is it a comma? Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, okay. So I knew it was one of those. That's always one of the things in in my Linux, administration side of things, like comma versus semicolon versus period versus pipe. All of those do multiple different things, and you just have to know which one it is or try to remember. And so thank you, Shannon, for throwing that in there. Appreciate that on the Park side of things. But yeah, just get in there and play with it. Like I said, take a look at that link I sent in the chat there. That is a great resource, and that's one of the things I love about POLO itself is that their community, their documentation is really good and really helpful in being able to leverage obviously some of the basic stuff, but more so learn more about the cool features that are always out there. All right, let me just look at the chat here. So we're getting close to wrapping things up here, but yeah, overall, I mean. Yep, just scanning here. Sorry. Cool. Yeah, POLO is great. I mean, I have made that leap a long time ago when it came out. It's always constantly being updated, and they're always taking feedback and consideration. So, hey, if you're using it out in the field and you come across something that maybe doesn't work or is a buggy or whatever, head over to their Discord. Their website is really good about being able to add stuff to their forums and submit suggestions. And the list that I looked at suggestion-wise is huge. So they definitely have a great group of developers who are working at, improving this over and over again. So yeah, go support those guys because in essence, it helps them continue to do what they do with POLO and make POLO that much a better app for all of us out in the field and using it. So anything else? Hey, so I'll throw it out to you guys. You guys got anything I missed? Any loggers that I might have not touched on that, maybe you guys use in the field? It sounds like most people here are mostly HAMRS POLO folks, but anybody out there, I know Mike or Tortoise, you were in there earlier. You guys, loggers. Oh, I forgot one logger. My gosh, I can't believe I did that. I made mention of it. Let's just go over there real quick. Let me, I can't leave there yet, Shannon. I got one more logger. Last one was N3FJP. I didn't touch upon this a little bit because I use this more as my home logger here real quick, but let me pull that up real quick. So N3FJP, great app. It is a very good, solid, application. It is a paid app. It's like a 30-day trial once you start to use it a little bit. It is Windows based only as far as most uses of it. And I use it primarily just for my main logger for home. So I'll pull all my POTA logs in and dump these in here and sync up to QRZ and LOTW and stuff. But you can go in and tweak this. As you see here, I've got some of the fields set up for parks on the air when I do hunt from my desk here in the shack. However, the one thing that struggles a little bit for me is because the nature of this app being built on Windows or Windows specific, when it comes to like resizing and being able to kind of follow like resizing, window constraints and stuff like that, it gets a little messy because it's almost, in my mind, I think it needs a little bit of a re-architect in terms of like all these fields, because if I want to edit any of these fields or add new ones, it's not like, they just pop in and they're available. A lot of times you have to kind of reposition buttons, and this window is very customizable on how you lay it out, which is great, but at the same time, it's not as, say, portable, I think, in my mind, if I wanted to do, this same copy to my, laptop or whatever. Yes, Roger, Winter Field Day. This is a great app. I'll say that I built a whole N1MM central networked version for my club, and we're talking about moving to N3FJP primarily just for Field Day, just because it's it's a much lighter, easier logger. It's not one thing I hate about N1MM is that I don't know what the developers always think, but they always give you a problem about how the apps are always out of sync when you're trying to do a network version. It doesn't always, like the features in N1MM don't always integrate well in terms of like chats and stuff like that. Although I'm finding N3FJP might serve the bill better in that sense. But yeah, it's a great little logger. I use it like here I said in my shack, and it does really good. But I haven't used it for POLO for Parks on the Air much. Although I do have it on my laptop, so when I do FT8, this is where I use that logger because it integrates well with WSJTX, and then I can just ADF the file up to wherever I need to from the laptop. So that, I guess that's where I probably use it mostly, because a lot of the other loggers like POLO and HAMRS don't have WSJTX integration. So, this is one of the things you have to do when you do a lot of FT8 or digital type modes. All right. So, yeah, sorry about that, missing that in the compilation because, like I said, it's not a widely used logger that I use personally myself, but it is definitely one you're going to probably have to use when you start thinking about digital modes. All right. Well, with that, I appreciate all you guys hanging out with me here in the chat. As always, don't forget, hey, we can continue this conversation over in our Discord there. I appreciate everybody joining that and hanging out. We're going to start doing more. I'm going to start, talking that up a little bit more and getting more people excited. Hey, if you haven't headed over to the Discord, the link is in the description below. Come join, come be a part of that. It's also a Live Free and Ham community there as well. So if you, maybe you're a subscriber to Grouch Live Free and Ham itself, all that stuff is available, but we can always pick up the conversation for Brews and Activate here. And as always, we do this every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, set your alarm clocks, grab that morning coffee and come over and hang out with us. And we'll talk POLO Parks on the Air as much as we want, because there's a lot of great stuff there that we can all share with everybody. And we appreciate all you guys coming and hanging out with me this morning. If you haven't, and you just stumbled upon us this morning, if you like what you saw, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Definitely like and share this with other fellow POTA folks out there. We can continue to build this conversation and have some fun on a Sunday morning. And I know Shannon and the Hillbilly guys, they're always, their next step is to go out and activate. So, hey, just take what you learned and go out there and apply it in the field. So until next time, guys, I'm Eric. My call sign's N1JUR. And so I'm going to say 7-3 and keep your radios on, that PTTD down, and POTA on, folks.